Okay, before we start, can I please get confirmation that you guys can hear me clearly and you can see my screen as well as on YouTube? For those of you watching there, please confirm with me that you guys can hear and see and everything is working fine. Okay, go ahead. Okay, assalamu alaikum and good morning, guys. Welcome back to grade 8 maths by Inspire Teens. Okay, in today's lesson, we're going to be continuing with finance. Okay, if there's any questions that you guys had from the previous week that I'm forgetting to address, please do let me know. If you guys do have any questions, don't forget that you can leave them in the chat, the Q&A, or alternatively, for those of you on YouTube, the YouTube chat. Okay, please note that in your drives, I've uploaded, many of you have requested like the breakdown, which topics we're going to be doing. So I've put the breakdown of topics that we're going to do, not a timetable per se, but just the order in which we're going to do the topics. Are we going to do that? I think we will go through it. If not, then I will add a question and we will go through it at some point. Okay, so we're going to continue. So last week we finished, we did revision of percentages, right? Which is important for, it's important for us to remember percentages when we're working with finance, okay? So now we're going to talk about increasing or decreasing by a percentage, okay? So we can follow these simple formulas to do this calculation. So increasing by a percentage as well as decreasing by a percentage. So the formula for increasing by a percentage, we take 100 plus that percent, which is the percent increase, by the way, okay, multiplied by whichever value we are increasing in that percentage. Percentage decrease is 100 minus that percentage, which is the percentage decrease, divided by 100, multiplied by the given value that we are decreasing in that percentage. Okay, so let's have a look at this question. It says goods costing 525 Rand, excluding VAT. What will they cost with VAT? Okay, so here is a VAT question, I guess. Yeah, if you guys are talking about like specific VAT questions, let me know if it's going to be different to this. Okay, but we are going to get to finance calculations as well. Okay, so what will they cost with VAT? Now we need to remember that VAT is actually just a percentage increase. Okay, VAT is a tax, value added tax, okay, and it's increased on whichever products we're talking about, right? So in this case, it says goods cost 525 Rand X VAT. What will they cost with VAT? So this is basically a percentage increase. So you're going to say percentage increase is equal to, I'm going to follow this formula, 100 plus what percent am I increasing by? VAT is 15%. I'm not going to put percent. I'm just going to put plus 15 just because it's dividing by 100, which then allocates for that specific percentage. 100 plus 15 over 100 multiplied by given value. What amount are we increasing in that percentage? 525 Rand. So multiplied by 525. Let's get my calculator. Okay, so I have 100 plus 15 over 100 multiplied by 525, and I get an amount of 603 Rand 75 cents. Okay, hope that makes sense. So that's basically calculating VAT on a product. Okay, number 2, what will a computer costing 7,000? Okay, let's not do that one. Let's do. I guess we can do it. What will a computer costing 7,500 Rand cost next year if inflation is 6.5%? Someone tell me, will inflation be percentage increase or percentage decrease? Is inflation percentage increase or percentage decrease? Good morning, good morning. Correct, it would be percentage increase as well, right? Inflation is goods prices increasing, so we're going to follow the percentage increasing formula as well. Percentage increasing is equal to 100 plus whatever the percentage markup is, 6.5 divided by 100 again, multiplied by whichever amount we are increasing in that percentage, which is 7,500. When I do the calculation, I get 7987,50 rand. Okay, hope that makes sense. Right, shoes marked at 325 are marked down 25% on sale. What would you pay for them on sale? In this case, marked down by 25% on a sale, right? So obviously a sale is generally a percentage decrease. So I want us to calculate percentage decrease. So I'm going to use the percentage decrease formula. Percentage decrease is going to be equal to 100 minus that percentage decrease divided by 100. So 100 minus 25% over 100 multiplied by that amount. In that case, I get an answer of 243 rand 75. Okay, I hope that's making sense. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at this. Right, these are like backward style questions. Mankwe bought a pair of shoes for 274 rand during a 25% sale. What was the original price of the shoes? Okay, so this question, okay, is not like the first few questions. Okay, it's not straightforward because they are not asking, okay, how much is the increase? Sorry, they're not asking what is the increased value or what is the decreased value. Okay, they want to know this. In this case, the decreased value is already given, 275 rand, 274 rand, sorry. This is after the discount was given, after the value was decreased in percentage. Okay, so what is the original price of the shoes? And in this case, now they're asking the original price of the shoes. Okay, so we can follow our formula, right? And we can just substitute which values we know. Okay, I'm just going to read it like this. Yeah, the notes will be available afterwards, by the way. Okay, Mankwe. Okay, so we're still doing number 4. I'm just leaving up number 3 because someone wants to take it down. So in this case, percentage, let's do percentage decrease, because remember, this is a sale. Okay. So because it's a sale, of course, percentage, it's going to be decreased, right? So the percentage decrease is equal to 100 minus the value, the percent value that we decreased by, divided by 100, multiplied by, what do we normally multiply by? We normally multiply by the given amount, meaning the amount that we are going to calculate, in this case, the discount on. Okay. So in that case, this is actually the unknown value. It's the original price. So it's 100 minus 25 over 100 multiplied by the markup original price. This is normally equal to the sale price, right, in this specific case. And since we know the sale price of 274, we can substitute it in there. Okay, does that make sense? So 100 minus 25 multiplied by the original price gives us the new price. In this case, we don't know the original price, so we will leave it as an unknown. You can use X to denote it as well. That's fine. All right. I'm just using OP so we understand its original price. I'm just going to say original price equals X and then use X and then X. You know, that's not complicated. Okay. So now it's mathematics. Okay, so this simplifies to 75 over 100 multiplied by the original price is equal to 274. Okay, alternatively, I could even, because when you multiply fractions, remember it's numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator, I could put it on top here and say 75 times the original price is equal to 274. Okay, so now on the left-hand side, this is equations, right? Solving for an unknown in an equation. On the left-hand side, I have 100. Okay, I have 100 here as division. So I can multiply both sides by 100 to get rid of that 100. Because it's division, when I multiply by 100, it's going to get rid of it. So then I have 27400, and I'm left with 75 times OP on the left. Now OP, what's attached to it? It's my 75. How do I get rid of the 75? I can divide, because you see the 75 is in multiplication with the OP, so I can divide both sides by 75. Okay, let's remember this multiplication cancels that's division. This on top cancels that at the bottom. So here I'm left only with OP. And in my calculator, I have to put the value 27,400 divided by 75. Okay, I get an answer of 300, and this is rand, so I'm going to put it in rand. 365 rand, 33 cents when I round off to 2 decimal places. So the original price before the sale was 365 rand 33. He managed to get it on sale for 274. Okay, so please take note of this example. It's not asking for the price after sale or the price after percentage increase or the price after percentage decrease. This is asking for the original amount, okay, and then it gives you the percentage decreased amount already. Okay, so let's just revise it one more time. Mankwe bought a pair of shoes for 274 rand during a 25% sale. What was the original price of the shoe? So I'm following my normal percentage decrease formula, which is 100 minus that percentage decrease divided by 100. I always multiply it by the original price. Okay, the original price is either before percentage increase or before percentage decrease. And of course, in this case, it's before percentage decrease. So it's 100 minus 25 over 100 multiplied by the original price before the percentage was decreased, right, before the sale. And it's going to be equal to the amount that was decreased, right, the value in rands that we got when we did decrease it by 25%, and that's equal to 274. Then in order to simplify, there's 100 as division, so I multiply both sides by 100 to get rid of it, right? When I multiply that by 100, I have 2740. Then I'm left with 75 times OP. So I can get rid of that by dividing both sides by 75, because when I divide this guy by 75, it's going to cancel the 75. And then whatever I do to the left, I have to do it to the right to keep it an equation. Otherwise, it won't be equal. Like I'm just going to change things. Okay. And then we have OP, original price is that. Okay, let's do number 5 and see if you understand from there. Okay, so determine the price before VAT. Okay, so again, okay, let's read it fully. Determine the price before VAT, which is 15%, if the goods cost 556.99 rand with VAT. Okay, so again, this is a backwards question. So firstly, we need to denote that VAT is a percentage increase. Okay, that's the first thing. VAT is a percentage increase. So the formula that we're going to be using is for percentage increase. Percentage increase is equal to 100 minus the plus 100 plus the percentage value. So in this case, VAT is 15% divided by 100. Okay, multiplied by the original price, and that's going to give us the what can we call it? Let's just say, in this case, let's just say multiplied by amount before VAT, and that's going to give us the amount after VAT. Okay, does that make sense? So you're going to take this fraction, which you get from your formula, okay, 100 plus 15. Why 15? Because that's the markup. Remember, we are following these formulas, right? So you memorize these formulas because they work 100% of the time for percentage increase and percentage decrease. So 100 plus the percentage increase multiplied by the original amount of the given value, that's going to give you the amount after the percentage has increased, all right? And in this case, for percentage decrease, 100 minus the percentage decrease multiplied by the given value, that's going to give you the amount. So because the percentage decrease, it could be like the amount on sale or the amount after the discount or the amount basically after you have decreased it by that specific percentage. Okay, so determine the price before VAT if goods cost 456.99 with VAT. So you need to understand this formula. This is the main thing. All right, this is the main thing to understanding this question. Okay, is understanding this formula. So for VAT, for example, right, it will be this fine. This remains constant. I think everybody understands this fraction, how we get this fraction. It's simple. For increase, we use plus. For decrease, we use minus. 100 plus and over 100, that's constant. And then this is just the percentage that you're increasing or decreasing by. Okay, let's move on to this. These two, right? These are important because it's not constant. Okay, meaning okay, so it's not constant, meaning like amount before VAT. Sometimes it's amount before discount, right? Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, so in this specific case, right, it's amount before VAT. So I'm taking this fraction is going to help me calculate the percentage increase. Okay, I'm multiplying it by the amount before VAT, because remember that specific amount, whatever, just say you're buying whatever item you are buying, this is the amount without VAT. When you multiply it by this fraction, it's going to give you the amount after VAT. Okay, so that's what this formula states. So now I can substitute values, all right? So I'm going to say 100 plus 15 divided by 100 multiplied by. Now you need to ask yourself, do you have the amount before VAT? Let's read the question. It says determine the price before VAT if the goods cost that much with VAT. So actually, in this question, we don't have the price before VAT. They want us to determine it. So I'm going to call it X. It's an unknown. Then I'm going to say equal to amount after VAT that we have. It says that the goods cost 456.99 with VAT. So that's the amount that I have. 456.99 is the amount that these goods cost with VAT. So now I need to solve algebraically. Okay, we'll go through it. Okay, so now I need to solve algebraically. Okay, so this is going to, let me just think. Okay, tell me what part do you guys not exactly understand? Do you not understand the algebra in the second step? Like, do you not understand how, like, let's go back to number 4, for example. Do you not understand like the second part here where I'm doing the calculation, or do you not understand the formula? Algebra. In our example test, should we show every step when multiplying and dividing by percentage increase and decrease? Yes, you should show every step. Okay, so you guys have an issue with the algebra, that's fine. As long as you understand the formula, that's the main thing, all right? Let's work through the algebra. So here I have 100 plus 15. 100 plus 15 is 105. 115, sorry. Divided by 100, multiplied by x. Okay, so now remember when multiplying fractions, I don't know if you're going to remember or if you're still going to learn it. I should know, I'm your tutor. But I think you might still need to learn multiplication of fractions. It's just that I'm not sure how much you guys have done last year. But when we multiply fractions, I have A over B times C over D. You always multiply fractions in a straight line, meaning numerator times numerator and denominator by denominator. So in this case, if I want to multiply out this fraction, I'm going to say numerator by numerator. So A times C is AC. B times D is BD. Does that make sense? Okay, I suspect that you guys have done it, but it's fine. We'll do a revision of it. Okay, so when you're multiplying out fractions, this is how you do it. Numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. Okay, or I like to call it just multiply in a straight line. Okay, meaning top by top, bottom by bottom. So that's why in this case, right? And another thing is, so I have multiplication of fractions here, firstly, number one. Number two is the second term is not a fraction entirely, okay? The second term is just x. However, any number that's not a fraction, I can actually write as a fraction. How? I can just write it over 1. So I can say multiplied by x over 1. Multiplied by x over 1. And this is equal to 456,99. Now, how do I multiply fractions? In a straight line. So on top, I'm going to have 115 times x divided by 100 times 1, which is 100. This is equal to 456,99. Okay, so this whole time we're just simplifying the left-hand side. You can't hear me properly. I think everyone else can hear me properly. I'm not sure if it's just a you issue. Can everyone else just confirm with me that you guys can hear me properly? You might need to put your volume louder or something. Or your signal, your Wi-Fi is cutting or something. Okay, so yes, I've multiplied my fractions, numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. Now on the left-hand side, in equations, right? So in equations, okay, you need to, okay, whenever we're solving for a variable, okay, this I'm not sure if you guys have gotten to yet, but it should make sense. Okay, when you are solving for a variable, like I need to know the value of x, right? That's the whole point of this question. I need to calculate this value of x. Okay, so if I want to calculate the value of x, I need to ensure that x is left alone. This guy is left alone. How do I do that? I do that by taking every value that's attached to the x to the other side. Okay, and doing its inverse operation. What do I mean by that? Is as you can see, right? This 100. Okay, in the denominator is a division. It's a division on the left-hand side. So if I want to get rid of it, or if I want to take it over to the other side, right, I can simply multiply by 100 because it's divided by 100. So if I multiply by 100, okay, in your calculator, you want like dividing by 100 and multiplying by 100 doesn't make a difference. So it makes 1 basically. So if you can take in your calculator, you say 5 times 100 divided by 100, you're going to see that you're left with 5. Okay, but it's an equation. So whatever I do to the left, I need to do to the right to keep it an equation. So in order to get rid of this 100 on the left-hand side, I have to multiply it by 100 on the left, and I have to multiply it by 100 on the right. Okay, so in this case, division, divide by 100, multiply by 100. Those two basically cancel out. Okay, and on the left-hand side, I can do this calculation. I can say 45699 times 100, and I'm going to get 45699. On the left-hand side, let's sorry. On the left-hand side, I'm left with 115x. Okay, because I got rid of 100. I don't understand the division part. Okay, how many of you do understand this inverse operation thing where you canceling the division or multiplying? How many of you do understand it? Okay, tell me in grade 7, did you guys cover equations? Did you guys cover like solving for x basically using equations? Okay, it makes sense that you guys should have covered it because it needs that's required for grade 8, right? It's preparation for grade 8 because obviously now in grade 8 things get a bit more complicated. Okay, I'm going to go through it one more time. Okay, but we are going to go obviously go through like this type of things at some point in grade 8. You do revision in grade 8. It's just yeah, you should have some preconceived knowledge of these things already. Okay, but basically it's called inverse operation. For those of you who don't understand, whenever you, so again, I'm saying that you have to isolate your variable, meaning leave your variable alone. Someone asked in chat, that's pi. Pi is in your calculator. Pi is basically just a number. Okay, it's like 3,142, blah, blah, blah. That's what pi is. Okay, so yes, now on the left-hand side, I have, that's where my x is. I want to leave x completely alone. Okay, so I have to see what is attached to x. What is attached to x is 115 in multiplication and 100 inside of division. So if you want to basically leave x alone, you're going to have to take 100 to the other side and 115 to the other side. So the way you do that is by doing its opposite operation. So here 100 is in division. So I basically multiply it by 100 to get rid of it, always. So if you are adding, you'd subtract. If you are subtracting, you would add. If you're dividing, you'd multiply. If you're multiplying, you'd divide. So I multiply both sides by 100. Okay, let's move over here. So now I'm left with 115 x is equal to 45699. Now I can see that 115x, how is the 115 attached to x? It is attached to x by multiplication. So I can simply divide both sides by 115 to get rid of it, because if you multiply by 115 and divide by 115, you get 1. Okay, but it's an equation. So if I divide the left-hand side by 115, I have to divide the right-hand side also by 115. So that's how I get rid of it essentially. And then I get a value of x is equal to 397. Okay, so basically I put that in my calculator. 397 round off to 2 decimal places, comma 38. Okay, for those of you who didn't understand number 4, please redo or rewatch the video later, because it's exactly the same as number 5. So if you understood the algebra in number 5, you'll understand the algebra in number 4. Yes, we're going to do profit and loss. Let's try and speed it along, right? Okay, so percentage increase or decrease. Okay, so I know it might just seem like we did percentage increase or decrease, but we did actually increasing by a percentage. So we took a value and we increased it by a percentage. Here we are going to calculate. We are given two values, before increase and after increase, or before decrease and after decrease. Okay, and we are asked to calculate what was the value of that percentage increase. So let's do the first example. It says calculate the percentage markup. Okay, if goods costing 45 Rand 50 were sold for 69 Rand. Okay, so this is a basic cost price, selling price type of example, and they want you to calculate the markup. Okay, how much was it marked up? What was, by what percentage was it marked up? Okay, so how we can do that is simple. Okay, we follow the formula. Here's the formula. Percentage increase is bigger minus smaller over smaller. Percentage decrease is bigger minus smaller over bigger. Okay, so we're talking about the value. So in this case, calculate the percentage markup of goods costing 45 Rand 50. So this is percentage increase because it's markup. The percentage increase is equal to the bigger value, which is 69, minus the smaller value, 45,50, divided by the smaller value for percentage increase, 45,50. That is the smaller value. And here, do I have to multiply by 100? I think I forgot to put in each of these. Multiply by 100. Multiply by 100, obviously, to give it to you then in percentage, right? So let me do this calculation. 69 minus 45.50 divided by 45.50. Yes, and I multiplied by 100, and I get a 51% increase. So the markup on these goods was 51,65 if I rounded off to 2 decimal places. Percentage markup of 51,65. As you can see in this case, our answer is in percentage, and in this case our answer was in rands, because this they wanted to calculate, wanted us to calculate the rand value. Okay, Determine the inflation rate of a car. Okay, you guys can do number 2 on your own. Determine the inflation rate if a car costs 250 rand, 250. Sorry. Determine the inflation rate if a car cost 250,000 rand last year and now it costs 26875. So inflation rate is a percentage increase. Okay, so remember, percentage increase in this case is equal to bigger minus smaller over smaller. So 268,750 divided by, bigger minus smaller, 250,000 divided by smaller, 250,000, and I multiply by 100. Here I get the percentage increase as and when I do the calculation, I actually get that it's a 7.5% increase. Okay, I'll do the second example because it's an example of percentage decrease. So it says a book market 148 rand 50 is sold for 118 rand 77. What percentage discount was given? So here they want us to calculate what is the percentage discount. Okay, so percentage of the discount is definitely going to be percentage decrease. Okay, that's important to note. Remember that percentage decrease, let's separate this with a line. Percentage decrease is the bigger value minus the smaller value, but divided by the bigger value multiplied by 100. So in this case, I'm going to say the bigger value, which is 148.50 minus the smaller value. In this case, I don't divide by the smaller value. I actually divide by the bigger value to calculate the percentage. It decreased, and don't forget to multiply it by 100 to convert to a percentage. Okay, when I do this calculation in my calculator, I get 20.02%. Okay, you definitely will be allowed. When Sir is done, can Sir explain real and non-real numbers? Real and non-real numbers were done in the first lesson. Okay, so what you can do is it's uploaded on YouTube. You can go and watch that video. Let's have a look at profit and loss. Okay, so profit and loss. Okay, profit is equal to selling price minus cost price, and that's going to give you a positive value, right? So profit is when you purchase goods, okay, or whatever your cost is, right? Whether you provide a service, whether you sell goods, whatever your cost is, okay, your cost of the product, okay, maybe including the shipping of the product, the packaging of the product, all your cost, okay, and then what you sell it for. So just say you buy sweets for 10 rand, you sell them for 15 rand. In that case, you're making a profit of 5 rand. Okay, so that's what a profit is. It's when you buy goods at a certain amount and sell it for a higher amount, you're going to make a profit. So when you take your selling price minus your cost price, you're going to get your profit, and it's going to be a positive value, of course. However, if you make a loss, okay, now there's numerous times when you can make a loss. Like for example, if you buy a product and maybe you can't sell it, you're struggling to sell the product, so eventually you put it for a very low price and then it sells. Okay, so in that case you make a loss. So selling price minus cost price, same formula, but however in this case now you're going to get a negative value because you actually lost money, right? And now we also have formulas for percentage profit. Percentage profit is equal to profit over cost times 100. Percentage loss is equal to loss over cost times 100. Okay, so you memorize these formulas, but they also make sense because if you want to know how much of your percentage is profit, you're going to take the profit amount divided by the total cost and multiply it by 100 to give it to you in percentage. So let's have a look at this, right? Dabiso bought 10 tickets for a soccer match for 90 rand each. He sells 4 for 110 rand each and the rest for 70 rand each. Okay, so firstly, right, I know they say determine if you made a profit or a loss. Let us calculate his cost price. So he bought 10 tickets for a soccer match for 90 rand each. Okay, so if he bought 10 tickets for 90 rand, his cost price in this case is going to be equal to 90 times 10 because he bought 10 tickets. So he basically paid 900 rand. His cost price was 900 rand for 10 tickets. 900 rand for 10 tickets, right? Now, let's calculate what he made by selling them. So we can do it for each of these, All right, okay, let's not do it separately. So firstly, he sells 4 of them for 110 Rand. So I'm going to say for selling price, right? He sells 4 of them for 110 Rand. 4 times 110. It's going to give me 440 Rand. Okay. Then he sells the rest for 70 Rand. So if he sells 4 for 110 and the rest, he's left with 6, right? Because he's already sold 4. He has 10 in total. So now he's left with 6. How much does he sell these 6 for? 70 Rand each. So 6 times 70, that gives me 420 Rand. So determine if you made a profit or a loss. So remember, profit and loss, we utilize the same formula to calculate them. It's selling price minus cost price. And whether we get a positive or negative value, that indicates to us whether we get a profit or a loss. So I know that my total selling price, because he sold 4 for 110, he made 440 Rand there. Then he sold 6 of them for 70, he made 420 Rand there. So the total selling price is actually 860 Rand when you add those two together, right? For all 10 tickets, right? His total selling price. So remember, profit or loss is equal to selling price minus cost price. So his selling price is 860 Rand minus his cost price. Remember, we said he bought them for 90 Rand each and he bought 10 of them. Okay, so his cost price is 900 Rand. And now he made not a profit, he definitely made a loss because his selling price was less than his cost price. And when we say 860 minus 90, we actually get an answer of negative 40. I'm going to put rands because that's our final answer. So we're going to put it in rand. So he made it has to be a loss because when we get a negative answer in this equation, that means that they made a loss. When we get a positive, obviously, that means they made a profit. So in this case, he made a loss because we got a negative answer of 40 Rand. So does he make a profit or a loss? He makes a loss. Okay. Determine the percentage profit or loss. Okay. Again, both are the same formula. We're either going to take the profit or the loss, depending on what the person made, divided by the cost and multiply it by 100. So in this case, we are going to do loss. So percentage loss is equal to the loss price, which is 40 Rand, don't put a negative, which is 40 Rand, divided by the cost price, which is 900 Rand. And then multiply by 100 to get it to give it to you in percentages. So 40 divided by 100. So 40 divided by 900 times 100, and this is a 4.44% when you round it up to 2 decimals. Say 4.44% loss. Okay, so just utilizing our formulas. So eggs are bought by SJ wholesalers for 16.20 Rand per dozen. They sell them for 17.80 Rand per dozen. What is their profit and percentage profit? So they buy it, okay, for 16.20. This is their CP. This is their cost price. They sell them for 17.80. This is their selling price. So remember, we know they're making a profit because we can see that they sell it for more than they buy it. So profit is equal to selling price minus cost price. So in this case, it's 17.80 minus 16.20. We get 1 Rand 60, I believe. Okay, this is the profit. Then they say calculate the percentage profit. So when percentage profit is equal to the profit divided by the cost price times 100. So our cost price is 1 Rand 60 divided by the selling price of, cost price of 16.20. And we get the percentage profit in that case as 9.88%. Sorry, I forgot to multiply by 100, but yeah. Okay, so percentage profit and loss calculations. Let's move on to simple interest. Okay, so let's look at these two formulas quickly before we start. And then people, please tell me, which formulas do you guys use? Do you guys use the left formula or the right formula? Just say left or right. Okay, on the right, some of you may have a formula that maybe looks like A is equal to P into open brackets 1 plus, I think it's either I or R times N over 100, or like I times N over 100, one of the two. Right or left, depending on the teacher. How many teachers do you have? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do like the first question utilizing, because the formula is simple, right? 2 math teachers. For finance, or do you split them into algebra and geometry? Okay, because technically, even if you have algebra and geometry, only one should be doing algebra, but yeah. Does use it this year, but I was never taught this in grade 7. Okay, I don't think simple interest was part of grade 7, so it's fine. You have to learn it in grade 8. Okay, so let's just go through this formula first. Okay. Right. This formula says simple interest is equal to P times R times T. Okay, those mean nothing until we know what they actually mean. P is the principal amount deposited. We'll go through that in a bit more detail. Okay, R is the interest rate and T is time in years. Okay, that's fine. Look, I prefer the right formula, this specific formula here, because it is more future-proof. Going into grade 9, 10, 11, and 12, you are only going to be using this. Okay, so it's better to just leave this completely, right? But we'll do the first example utilizing it. The rest of the examples, I would prefer that we use that, right? So simple interest, again, P times R times T. What is P? P is the principal amount deposited, okay? Once we go through this formula, then we'll explain P one more time. R is the interest rate in percent. Actually, R, you don't use percent. When you're using R in this formula, you don't use the percentage sign. You just put it as like 50, say it's 15%, you just put it as that number, 15. Because dividing by 100, that accounts for the percentage, okay? But also, okay, one thing to note is that this formula gives you interest, like the actual value amount for interest, while this formula gives you, okay, let's now just go through that in the question. Okay, and then T is time in years, so 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, right? Let's go through this one. A is equal to P, open brackets 1 plus I times N. Okay, again, R and I are very similar. Sometimes they refer to interest as I, sometimes as R. Okay, and if they divide it by 100, that's just them converting it to a percentage. I'll explain it when we do a question. So we have the first thing, which is A, it says after interest amount or accumulated amount, depending on how the question is phrased. I don't know if that's spelled correctly, but who cares? Okay, so then, okay, then we have P, principal amount deposited. Then we have R, interest rate, or again, I, same thing. I is also interest rate. And then we have N, which is time in years. So instead of T, we have N, which is time in years. Now, let's talk about interest, right? Simple interest. So when do you earn interest or when do you pay interest? So when do you pay interest, right? When you take out a loan, for example, okay, that's when you're going to pay interest because you are borrowing the money now, okay? And you are not paying, like for example, you need 5,000 Rand right now, but you don't have the money. So you go to the bank, listen, I need a loan of 5,000 Rand. They're like, okay, cool. I'll give you the 5,000 Rand, right? They're just giving you the money, but you're going to have to pay me back, obviously. However, you can't afford to pay them back right now. If you could afford to pay them back right now, then you wouldn't be taking a loan from them in the first place, okay? You can afford to pay them over a year. Let's just say you can afford to pay them over a year. Each month, you're going to contribute towards it. You're going to pay this amount, this amount, this amount. And then eventually after the year, you've paid them the loan. However, they don't just charge you that 5,000 Rand. Because they are giving you the money now and you are paying later, they're going to charge you something called interest, okay? Which is basically, it says what it is. It's money that they charge you because they're giving you money now and you are paying later. Okay, so it's sort of a benefit that you're getting the money now and you get to pay it back over time. So they're like, okay, listen, you're not going to actually pay us that 5,000 Rand. In the end, you're going to pay us more because we borrowed you the money immediately. Okay, so that's what interest is. So when we talk about A, we talk about the amount after interest. We're talking about when we do the calculations, say you go to the bank and now they're using simple interest and now they need to calculate, okay, you're borrowing 5,000 Rand. Let's calculate in 2 years. If I add the simple interest to it for 2 years, how much is that 5,000 Rand actually going to grow to? And this is what we call A. After you add the interest to it, basically. P is the principal amount or previous amount, okay? Meaning prior to interest, before interest was calculated. So in our specific case that I was mentioning, if we were borrowing 5,000 Rand, 5,000 Rand is going to be the principal amount. It's going to be previous, prior to interest, sorry. It's going to be the amount before interest was calculated. 5,000 Rand is the loan amount or the investment amount or whatever it is, right? And then of course, remember after is after you do the calculation to get interest. I is the interest rate, okay, or R is when you say R over 100, so on. N is the time in years, okay? One more example of when are we doing integers next, okay? If you go now to the drive, you will see the order of the topics that we are going to be doing, okay? So, okay, so, what is I saying? Okay, another example of when interest is involved is if you invest money. Let's say you have an extra amount of 5,000 Rand that you have no use for, you don't have any things to buy with it. So you want to invest it to save and you want it to grow in interest, okay? So when you invest in an account, in a bank account, you could also earn interest. Instead of paying interest, you could earn interest, right? They give you interest because now instead of you taking money from the bank, when you invest money, you are giving money to the bank. So when you give money to the bank, they're very happy. They're like, oh, thank you for your money. We are going to give you interest now. Every month, we're just going to add a little bit and a little bit more to your bank account. Okay, so that's another instance when you can earn interest. When you get a huge decimal number, you calculate how do you know? Generally, from now onwards, guys, in high school, up until matric, unless specified otherwise, and there's certain topics in grade 11 and grade 12 in physics that are different, but you guys will get there if you end up doing physics. But for now, from grade 8, right, we should think that when you get a huge decimal number in your calculator, you should always round off to 2 decimal places, unless specified otherwise, or unless your teacher tells you different, okay? So yes, okay, let's look at our first question. 12,000 Rand was invested for 7 years. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking all the key information and I'm highlighting it. So 12,000 Rand was invested for 7 years and simple interest, we know the formula for that, was calculated at 10.5% per annum. What is the investment worth after 7 years? Number one. Number two is how much interest did the investment earn? So let's look at number one. Okay, we're going to utilize both formulas. So 12,000 Rand was invested for 7 years. Okay, so this is an investment. Someone is putting money into the bank and they're expecting to earn interest. Okay, so 12,000 Rand was invested for 7 years. So I know that N, or number of years, is 7. Why? Because it's the amount, the time for the investment is 7 years. Simple interest was calculated 10% per annum. So 10% per annum is I or R. Okay, so I know that information. Okay, what is the investment worth after 7 years? Tell me, this 12,000 Rand amount, is this the amount before interest was added to it, or is this the amount after interest was added to it? Is this the amount before interest, or is this the amount after interest? Someone says after. Anyone else? Okay, so it's not after. Okay, correct. It is before. We just have to read it and understand it. Okay, they say that 12,000 Rand was invested. They didn't say that 12,000 Rand, like sometimes they might phrase 12,000 Rand grew to 15,000 Rand after it was invested for 7 years. Or they say that after 7 years, an investment grew to 27,000 rand. That's different. That's saying after those 7 years, it grew to that amount in interest. Here they are saying that this amount was initially invested, basically, and that's why we refer to it as the principal amount, okay, or prior to interest. The principal amount meaning prior to interest, the principal, the initial amount that was invested. So that is P. So my formula is A is equal to P, open brackets, 1 plus I times N. So A is what I want to calculate, because they say, what is the investment worth? Look at for the keywords after 7 years. So they want us to calculate A. So this is equal to P, which is 12,000 rand. Open brackets, 1 plus what is I? So now when you utilize the formula that I recommend, when you substitute I, you must put the percentage symbol and put the percentage symbol in your calculator. So in this case, I'm going to put a bracket, 10.5%. Alternative, you can convert it to a decimal if you like, or if your teacher wants you to. N is the number of years that this was invested for, which is 7 years. And then I close the big bracket. Okay, so I have 1 plus. These two are in multiplication with one another, all in that one big bracket. So when I do the calculation, I get 12,000 rand. Open brackets, 1 plus 10.5. I hope you guys know where the percentage symbol is on your calculator. It's by the opening bracket thingy. And I get an amount of 20,820 rand. This is A. This is after interest has been calculated. This is after 7 years, it grew to 20,820 rand. So this person invested 12,000 rand for 7 years. At the end of 7 years, what was in their bank account was 20,820. Why did it grow? Because the bank was constantly adding interest. Yes, time is up. Unfortunately, we're going to have to end it there. Why are you adding the 1 in the bracket? Because that's part of the formula. Formula has a 1, so I put a 1. Okay, so what we'll do next time is we are going to do this method, an example of this method. Okay, and several other examples. Okay, and then of course number 2, and then hire purchase loan and exchange rates, right? So I know maybe some of you have already moved on to integers. Some of you are maybe busy with common fractions, decimal fractions, but we are going to get there, right? These sections take long and we did start a bit late, so yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to continue simple interest next time, hire purchase loan, exchange rates, move on to integers, move on to common fractions, which are like percentages, solving problems, dividing whole numbers by common fractions, calculating square, cube roots and of common fractions, and then decimal fractions. We'll go through all of that. Okay, cool. So I hope you guys understood, right? Have a good week at school. I will see you guys next week, same time, where we will do what I just explained. Please do remember that these notes will be uploaded to a Google Drive. The link for that Google Drive can be found in the description of your group. One thing extra that you are going to find in your Google Drive today is a breakdown of the list of the order in which we are going to do the topics. Okay, so please go have a look at it for term 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, thank you guys so much. Jazakallah khair.